The Nevada desert, a canvas of ancient secrets, never truly yielded them all. Dr. Aris Thorne, a xenobotanist specializing in arid environments, certainly didn't expect one to plummet from the heavens, irrevocably altering humanity's perception of the cosmos. Driving back from his late shift at the Area 52 Ecological Preserve, the night sky tore open. A searing sapphire streak blazed overhead, its fury shaking his old Jeep like a toy as it screamed towards the distant mountains. The impact was a silent, deafening concussive force, throwing his vehicle sideways. Sand and dust billowed, an artificial mushroom cloud against the stars. Aris killed the engine, heart hammering a frantic rhythm against his ribs. 15 years of field research, countless close calls with desert wildlife, and unexpected sandstorms had taught him caution. But this defied all earthly understanding. He grabbed his emergency kit, a battered green canvas bag, and began hiking towards the epicenter. The crater, a raw wound in the earth, steamed faintly. At its heart lay a vessel unlike anything crafted by human hands. Its surface, a shimmering obsidian, seemed to drink the meager starlight, subtly shifting hues like a deep, cosmic oil slick. Yet, it wasn't the ship that froze him, but the figure emerging from the wreckage. Tall, lithe, undeniably female, she moved with a grace that belied her apparent injuries. Her skin, a mesmerizing shade of emerald green, gleamed even in the darkness, accentuating sharp, elegant cheekbones and eyes that held the depth of distant nebulae. Instead of hair, intricate metallic filigree, like woven starlight, adorned her head, framing a face of ethereal beauty. Her form was undeniably alluring, a testament to an alien aesthetic. "Stay back, terrestrial." Her voice resonated, a low, melodic hum that vibrated through Aris's bones, yet the words were in perfect, unaccented English. She stumbled, a gasp escaping her lips as a dark, viscous fluid, like spilled cosmic ink, seeped from ornate, shimmering armor that seemed to be part of her very skin. "You're hurt," Aris stated, his voice calm, professional, as he approached, hands raised in a universal gesture of peace. "I'm a doctor. Let me help." "How dare you approach the Grand Arbitrix of the Lumina Conclave?" she snarled. But the command was laced with evident pain, undercutting its authority. "Your kind barely comprehends atmospheric flight. You are but dust motes in the galactic currents." "Dust motes, maybe," Aris countered, kneeling beside her, "but we're surprisingly good at keeping things from bleeding out. I am Dr. Aris Thorne, and you, Grand Arbitrix, are losing a lot of that cosmic ink." Her luminous eyes, wide and cat-like, narrowed, a flicker of surprise, perhaps even respect, softening their intensity. "I am Grand Arbitrix Xylos, and you will address me as such." Her words hitched, cut short by a pained groan as she tried to shift. "Grand Arbitrix, with all due respect, you have severe trauma and possible internal hemorrhaging. You can let me help, or you can bleed out making speeches. Your choice." A faint, almost imperceptible curve touched her perfect lips. "Your insolence is refreshing. Proceed with caution, doctor. My biology is as complex as a dying star." Aris wasted no time. He pulled out his portable medical scanner, a prototype he'd been field testing, and ran it over her. The device, designed for terrestrial flora and fauna, struggled, its display flickering wildly as it attempted to map her alien physiology. Her circulatory system wasn't blood as he knew it, but a flowing network of crystalline light, seemingly mimicking human hemoglobin, yet infinitely more efficient. The wounds themselves were precise, cauterized burns unlike any crash injury. They hinted at something far more sinister. "These aren't crash injuries," Aris observed, applying a universal biosealant gel to the worst of the wounds on her side, a gash that ran deep along her ribs, exposing the faint glow of internal organs. "You were attacked." Xylos's expression darkened, her emerald skin seeming to momentarily lose its luster. "Perceptive for a terrestrial. Yes, there are factions within the Lumina Conclave who resist my progressive reforms. They believe contact with nascent worlds like yours would dilute our perfected society. They sought to silence me, and they tried to kill you to prevent that contact, Aris asked, carefully cleaning a particularly nasty burn near her shoulder. They will regret their failure, she hissed, wincing as he applied direct pressure to stem the flow of the glowing fluid. Your medical techniques are crude but effective. Those dust motes you're dismissing might just save your life, Aris pointed out as the bleeding finally slowed. A low, distant thrumming vibrated through the ground, pulling their attention to the sky. More lights were appearing, too many to be natural, spreading like a venomous rash across the desert night. They are coming, Xylos whispered, a tremor of genuine fear in her melodic voice. The dissidents, they will not stop until they find me. You must help me hide. Her last words seemed to physically pain her as much as her wounds. Aris looked from the approaching lights to his injured patient. Everything he had worked for at Area 52, every scientific breakthrough, paled in comparison. This was first contact, but it wasn't the triumphant, glorious moment humanity had envisioned. He could turn her over to his superiors, advance his career, perhaps even change human history. My facility has a secure, undocumented sublevel, he said, his voice decisive. Private lab space, basic medical equipment, and most importantly, no official oversight. But you'll have to trust me. Xylos's metallic filigree crown flickered with faint internal light as she studied him, her deep eyes searching his. Why would you help me? Your species has everything to gain by my capture. Because I'm a doctor first, Aris replied simply, carefully helping her to her feet, supporting her weight as they moved towards his jeep. And right now, you're my patient. Besides, I think humanity has more to gain by helping you than by exploiting you. As they drove through the desert night, headlights off to avoid detection, Xylos's voice came softly. Your species continues to surprise me, Dr. Thorne. Perhaps there is hope for cooperation after all. The lights in the sky grew brighter, closer, as Aris pushed his jeep to its limits, racing against time and hostile aliens. This wasn't how he'd imagined first contact, but as he glanced at the emerald-skinned Arbitrix beside him, he knew humanity's future had just changed forever. The real question was, for better or for worse? The jeep bounced over the rough terrain, leaving a trail of dust that would soon be swallowed by the vast, silent desert. The subterranean level beneath the Area 52 Ecological Preserve, officially designated non-existent in any record, had never seen such a flurry of activity. Aris worked tirelessly, transforming his private research space into a makeshift medical bay. Grand Arbitrix Xylos observed from a modified examination table, her metallic filigree crown pulsing with a weak, almost imperceptible light. Your security protocols are crude, terrestrial, she noted, watching him cycle the blast doors shut. They will not withstand Lumina conclave technology. Maybe not, Aris conceded, checking the repurposed biometric locks. But they don't need to. Sometimes the best security is invisibility. He returned to her side, examining the subtle healing of her wounds. The crystalline light structures in her system were responding, but slower than he'd hoped. You understand so little, Xylos said, her tone having lost some of its earlier condescension, replaced by a quiet weariness. The dissidents possess quantum resonance trackers. They can. She broke off, her elegant form tensing as a wave of pain rippled through her. Aris quickly adjusted the modified foredrip he'd rigged. Your biology is fascinating. These crystalline structures in your blood, they're not just for carrying oxygen, are they? There's some kind of energy conduit. Xylos's luminous eyes widened slightly, a flicker of genuine surprise. You detected that? Perhaps I underestimated your nascent scientific capabilities. They are called ether shards. They channel our life force, our connection to the cosmic energies that power our technology. And the weapons that hit you, Aris hypothesized, studying his frantic medical readings, they were designed to disrupt that energy. That's why you're not healing properly. Before Xylos could respond, a deep, resonant rumble shook the entire facility. Dust drifted down from the ceiling. Both human and alien froze, listening. Aris moved to a bank of monitors he'd jury-rigged to the facility's forgotten security system. 3 vessels just entered atmosphere, he reported, watching the thermal imaging displays. They're running a search pattern directly over the base. They know you're here. Xylos tried to sit up, but Aris gently pushed her back down. You don't understand, Dr. Thorne. When they find me, they will destroy this entire facility. Everyone here will perish. Then we need to move you, Aris said, already gathering essential supplies. I have a fallback location, a remote cabin in the Sierra Nevada foothills. Completely off-grid. I am Grand Arbitrix of the Lumina Conclave, Xylos declared, forcing herself to stand, pain etched across her beautiful features. Her emerald skin had dulled to a dangerous, ashen gray. I will not hide like a wounded creature while my people tear your world apart looking for me. Aris caught her as she swayed, her slight frame surprisingly heavy. With all due respect, Grand Arbitrix, right now you're my patient, and I'm not letting you die from stubbornness. Their eyes met, deep cat-like eyes piercing into his. For a moment, Aris thought she might strike him. Instead, she let out a soft, almost ethereal laugh, like distant chimes in a storm. You continue to fascinate me, Dr. Thorne. Few, in any species, would dare speak to me thus. Maybe that's your people's problem, Aris retorted, helping her towards a rarely used emergency exit. Too many yes men, not enough honest feedback. Another explosion rocked the facility, closer this time, a dull thud that reverberated through the concrete. As they made their way through the hidden tunnel system, Xylos' voice came softly, a rare vulnerability in her tone. The dissidents seek more than just my demise. They fear change, fear that contact with nascent species like yours might transform our rigid society. And what do you believe? Aris asked, supporting her weight as they emerged into the cool desert night. I believe your kind were primitive, stagnant, predictable, she admitted, her crown flickering weakly. But in less than one planetary rotation, you have shown more adaptability, more ingenuity, and more honor than many of my own people. Perhaps that is truly what they fear. They reached Aris's backup vehicle, an old but reliable armored SUV he'd modified for extreme off-road use. As he helped Xylos into the passenger seat, movement caught his eye. A patrol of armed soldiers, human, were approaching the preserve's main entrance, weapons drawn. Your military has detected the vessels, Xylos observed, her tone flat. They will discover the truth soon. Then we better make sure we're not here when they do, Aris muttered, starting the engine. He kept the lights off, slipping away into the darkness. How are you feeling? The ether shard disruption is spreading, she admitted, her usual imperial cadence wavering. Without access to conclave medical technology, I cannot be certain of survival. Then we'll have to get creative, Aris said, his mind already racing through possibilities. Your people's energy-based healing. Maybe we can replicate it using Earth technology. Different method, same principle. You would attempt to recreate our most advanced medical science with primitive tools? Xylos asked, but there was more curiosity than disdain in her voice now. Grand Arbitrix, humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, Aris said, as they wound their way into the mountains. It's our ability to adapt, to find solutions where none seem possible. You're not dying on my watch. The first rays of dawn painted the mountain cabin in soft, golden light as Aris worked furiously at his makeshift laboratory. He'd converted the small living room into a research space, surrounding Xylos' medical bed with a maze of modified equipment. The Grand Arbitrix's condition had stabilized, but her emerald skin still held an alarming grayish pallor. The energy transfer is working, Aris said, studying readings from a device he'd cobbled together from hospital equipment and parts salvaged from Xylos' crash site. But it's not enough. Your ether shards need something more than just raw power. They need resonance. The resonance, Xylos murmured, her metallic filigree crown flickering weakly. Our healing chambers generate specific energy frequencies that... She trailed off, watching Aris rush back to his equipment. Of course, he exclaimed, adjusting settings with a sudden burst of insight. It's not just about power. It's about matching the natural frequency of your crystalline structures, like tuning a radio to the right station. His fingers flew over the controls, making minute-precise adjustments. Xylos's eyes widened as her skin began to regain its vibrant emerald glow, the pallor receding. Impossible. You recreated our harmonic healing technology with primitive earth components. Sometimes primitive isn't the same as simple, Aris replied with a slight smile. Human technology may be less advanced, but we're very good at understanding basic principles and finding creative solutions. Their moment of triumph was abruptly shattered by a sharp beeping from Aris's cobbled-together security system. He rushed to check the monitors, his expression darkening. We've got company. Multiple vehicles approaching from the south. Military, based on the thermal signatures. And from the north, Xylos added, her voice tight with pain as she forced herself to sit up, her new strength quickly fading under the renewed pressure. Lumina Conclave Ground Forces. I can sense their energy signatures. Aris checked his screens again. How do they find us? Because I led them here. A new voice, cold and resonating with synthesized precision, echoed through the cabin. Both turned to see a figure step through the cabin wall, some kind of advanced holographic projection. The newcomer wore armor similar to Xylos's, but darker, with jagged ruby-red crystalline formations instead of emerald filigree. His form, though spectral, emanated a chilling authority. Commander Zarth, Xylos spat the name like a curse. I should have known you were behind the attack. Your vision for our people is dangerous, Supreme Commander. Your vision for our people is dangerous, Grand Arbitrix, Zarth's holographic form retorted, pacing the small living room. Contact with nascent species like these humans would corrupt our pure society. Better to eliminate the threat now. The only threat to our society is fear of change. Xylos countered, her eyes blazing with renewed defiance. Look at what this human has accomplished in mere hours. Recreating our healing technology with minimal resources. They have potential we never imagined, which is precisely why they must be eliminated or contained. Zarth's cold smile sent a shiver down Aris's spine. Your human military leaders were quite interested in what we had to offer in exchange for your capture. Weapons technology. Power. It seems humans can be quite reasonable when properly motivated. Aris felt his blood run cold. You made a deal with our military? That's how you found us. Some of your leaders understand the natural order of things. Zarth's hologram turned its featureless gaze towards him. The strong rule, the weak serve. Once we have the Grand Arbitrix, your military will help us establish a permanent presence here. Your world's resources and population will serve the greater glory of the Lumina Conclave. They're being played, Xylos said urgently, trying to rise fully, her fists clenched. Zarth's faction will never honor any agreement. They'll strip this world bare and eliminate humanity entirely. Aris's mind raced. Outside, he could hear the distinct sound of vehicles approaching from both directions. His security systems showed armed forces converging on the cabin, both human and alien. They were trapped. But then he noticed something on his medical readings, something about the way Xylos's ether shards were resonating with his modified equipment. An idea, wild and desperate, began to form. You're right about one thing, Commander Zarth, Aris said, carefully moving toward his control panel. Humanity can be quite reasonable when properly motivated. We're also really good at improvising. Before anyone could react, he slammed his hand down on the controls, maximizing power to his resonance device. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Zarth's hologram distorted violently, shrieking, and then vanished as every piece of alien technology in range began to overload. Outside, the approaching Lumina Conclave forces stumbled, their weapons and armor sputtering and malfunctioning. What are you doing? Xylos gasped, her metallic filigree crown blazing with sudden, intense energy. Your ether shards respond to specific energy frequencies, Aris explained, fighting to keep the jury-rigged equipment stable as it pumped out massive amounts of power. I figured their weapons and armor must work on similar principles, so I just changed the station on their radio. The cabin walls creaked under the strain as invisible waves of energy poured outwards. Through the window, Aris could see emerald-skinned alien soldiers struggling with malfunctioning equipment, while human military forces approached cautiously, clearly disoriented by the sudden chaos. "You've given my people no choice but to retreat," Xylos observed, her strength visibly returning as the modified healing energy surged through her. "But your military will still try to capture us." "Then we better have one hell of a story to tell them," Aris replied, already planning their next move. "Think you're up for a little diplomacy, Grand Arbitrix?" Xylos stood, her regal bearing restored even in her borrowed, ill-fitting earth clothes. "Thanks to your ingenious treatment, terrestrial, yes. Though I doubt either of our peoples is prepared for what comes next." "Probably not," Aris agreed as he heard the distinct thud-thud-thud of helicopters closing in. "But maybe that's exactly why they need us, to show them the way." The cabin door burst open, and armed human soldiers rushed in, weapons raised, laser sights dancing across the room. But they froze at the sight that greeted them. A human doctor and an emerald-skinned alien commander, standing side by side, neither showing any fear. "Gentlemen," Aris said calmly, raising his hands in a non-threatening gesture, but his voice was firm. "I believe it's time we had a conversation about the future of human-alien relations. The real future, not the one some would try to force upon us. The next few minutes would determine the fate of two civilizations." But as Aris glanced at Xylos, seeing the same fierce determination in her luminous eyes that he felt, he knew they'd already proved something important. Sometimes, the greatest strength comes not from technology or raw power, but from the willingness to trust across boundaries that others thought impossible to cross. The White Sands Command Center hummed with a tension thick enough to cut. Human military officials, their faces a mixture of bewilderment and suspicion, faced off against the shimmering holographic forms of the Lumina Conclave factions. Aris stood beside Xylos, a silent, unwavering presence, watching the delicate dance of interspecies diplomacy unfold. His modified healing device, now a silent, gleaming testament to human ingenuity, had been transformed into a powerful bargaining chip. Proof that humans could understand and adapt alien technology in ways nobody had expected. "Your proposal is unprecedented," General Valerius Thorne, a grizzled veteran with eyes that had seen too much, stated, studying the holographic display Xylos had projected. It showed intricate schematics of energy exchange, interwoven with biological data. "An open exchange of scientific knowledge between our species? Many would consider this a catastrophic security risk." "A greater risk lies in isolation, General," Xylos responded, her emerald skin glowing with restored vitality, her metallic filigree crown sparking with renewed energy. "As Dr. Thorne has demonstrated, humanity possesses remarkable adaptive capabilities. You will advance, with or without us. The question is whether that advancement leads to conflict or cooperation." Commander Zarth, now physically present under heavy guard, sneered, his ruby-red crystalline formations seeming to absorb all light in the room. "You would dilute our pure technological heritage by sharing it with primitives, Grand Arbitrix? This is an insult to our ancestors." "Pure." Aris stepped forward, unable to remain silent. "Your pure technology is based on crystalline energy manipulation. We just prove humans can understand and replicate those principles using our own methods. Perhaps different approaches aren't a weakness. Perhaps they're exactly what both our species need to grow." He activated his own holographic display, showing the precise data from his treatment of Xylos, the seamless integration of human medical principles with Lumina Conclave energy technology. "Look at these results. By combining our ingenuity, we created something new, something that could benefit both our peoples. The room fell silent as both humans and aliens studied the compelling data. General Thorne exchanged a long, meaningful glance with his colleagues. You're proposing some kind of joint research initiative? More than that, Xylos said, stepping forward to stand shoulder to shoulder with Aris, her pose regal and confident. A true partnership. Your people's creativity and adaptability, combined with our advanced technology. Together, we could achieve things neither civilization could manage alone. The Conclave will never accept this, Zarth warned, his voice tight with fury. Our ancient laws forbid such deep cooperation with developing worlds. The Conclave, Xylos reminded him, steel in her melodic voice, answers to me. My near demise at the hands of traditionalists like you has shown that both our civilizations need to change. She turned to address the human leaders directly, her luminous eyes sweeping over their faces. Your people took me in when I was wounded, showed me kindness when I offered only contempt, and found solutions where my own people saw only problems. These are not the actions of primitives. These are the actions of a species ready to join the galactic community. General Thorne studied them both for a long, tense moment. And if we refuse? If we decide to keep this incident classified and continue developing on our own? Then you'll be right back where you started, Aris pointed out, gesturing to the silent, glowering Zarth. With different factions of aliens fighting over Earth while humanity scrambles to catch up. Or, he gestured to his medical data, we can build something new, together. The general's eyes narrowed, a flicker of something new. Not just suspicion, but consideration. You seem very comfortable advocating for alien interests, Dr. Thorne. I'm advocating for humanity's interests, General, Aris corrected calmly. We can either face the future divided and fearful, or united and strong. Look what one human doctor and one alien commander accomplished together in just a few days. Imagine what our whole species could do in true partnership. Xylos's emerald hand found his shoulder, her touch carrying a slight electric charge that had become strangely familiar. My people have grown stagnant, clinging to tradition out of fear of change. Humanity's greatest strength is your ability to adapt, to see new possibilities where we see only the established way. We need that perspective. The room erupted in discussion, human and alien voices mixing as the profound implications sank in. Aris and Xylos watched as the seeds of cooperation they'd painstakingly planted began to take root. There will be resistance, Xylos said softly, her gaze steady. On both sides, of course, Aris agreed. Change is never easy, but it's necessary. You know, she added, a hint of her old, imperial tone returning. As Grand Arbitrix, I'll need an earthly liaison for this partnership. Someone who understands both our peoples. Someone too stubborn to give up, even when alien royalty threatens to execute them. Aris chuckled, a rare, genuine sound. Careful, Commander. Someone might think you're growing fond of us primitives. Perhaps, she admitted, her lips curving into a faint, enigmatic smile, watching as human and alien officials began tentatively working out the details of their new arrangement. We all have something to learn about judging too quickly. Hours later, as the New Mexico sun set over a changed world, Aris stood with Xylos outside the facility. Her ship had been recovered and repaired, its sleek obsidian form gleaming in the dying light, ready to make history. Ready? He asked, a quiet question echoing in the vastness. Xylos's metallic filigree crown sparkled with renewed energy, a beacon of emerald light. Thanks to you, Doctor. I believe both our peoples are ready for what comes next. She paused, then added with a slight, almost playful glint in her luminous eyes, though I still maintain your medical techniques are barbaric. But effective, he reminded her with a grin. Indeed, she turned to face him fully, her stunning green eyes holding his. You know, there's an old saying among my people. The strongest crystals form under pressure. I never truly understood it until now. Above them, stars began appearing in the darkening sky, no longer distant mysteries, but gateways to a shared future. Humanity's first steps into a larger universe had come not through conquest or conflict, but through cooperation, innovation, and the simple act of one doctor choosing to help someone in need, regardless of where they came from. The real work was just beginning, but as Aris watched Xylos' ship prepare for launch, not to leave, but to begin establishing the infrastructure for Earth's first joint human-alien research facility, he knew they'd already proved something vital. Sometimes, the greatest discoveries come not from advancing technology, but from advancing understanding between those who once thought themselves too different to ever work together. And that, perhaps, was the most profound discovery of all.